Scientists created a 3D printed heart using a patient's own cells. One ill-timed joke caused an entire city to drain 8 million gallons of fresh water, and bedbugs have existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Welcome to another episode of 30 mind-blowing fun facts. You can hit that subscribe button if you want to stay connected. Today, we'll have you rethinking everything you thought you knew for sure. So, without wasting any more time, let's get started with Number 1. Did you know that eels have not one but two jaws? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's true. The second set of jaws, called the pharyngeal jaws, is hidden in their throat. When an eel bites down on its prey with its primary jaws, the pharyngeal jaws leap into action. They extend forward, grab the prey, and pull it deeper into the eel's throat. This incredible adaptation allows eels to hold onto their slippery prey and ensure it doesn't escape. Number 2. Astronauts can't burp in space. Ever wondered how burping works in space? Unlike on Earth, where gravity helps separate liquids from gases in our stomachs, space has its own rules. In the microgravity environment, there's no such separation, making things a bit tricky. So, when astronauts burp, it's not just air that comes out. It's a mix of gas and liquid, resulting in what's known as a wet burp. Sounds a bit gross, right? This odd phenomenon is just one of the many unique challenges of living in space. So, the next time you burp on Earth, be grateful it's not a messy space burp. Number 3. You need 10 years of cheesemaking experience to even apply to become a master cheesemaker. The Wisconsin Master Cheesemaker program isn't for amateur dairy lovers. The prestigious program is so elite that candidates are required to have had a Wisconsin cheesemaker's license for at least 10 years before they're even eligible to apply. You also have to pass a series of courses on subjects like cheese technology and cheese grading on being a cheese artisan. Number 4. The winner of the North American Wife Carrying Championship gets their spouse's weight in beer. If you're the big winner of the North American Wife Carrying Championship, which literally involves carrying your significant other through a lengthy obstacle course as fast as you can without dropping them, you'll be awarded with your spouse's weight in beer and 5 times her weight in cash. In order to figure out how much that is, the wife gets up on a seesaw and cases of beer are placed on the other side until the two sides even out. The winner can also choose to compete at the World Championship held annually in Finland, where the activity originated. Number 5. A traffic jam once lasted 12 days. You think your commute is bad, but this should give you some perspective. In August 2010, a traffic jam in Beijing lasted a dozen days, stretching 62 miles along the Beijing-Tibet Expressway and China National Highway 110. It finally dissipated after authorities allowed more trucks to enter Beijing. The city has strict road space rationing laws around the clock and got trucking companies to take alternate routes. Number 6. Did you know that a buttload is a real measurement of wine? That's right. Imagine a massive barrel brimming with wine. That's a butt, derived from the medieval French word bot, meaning cask. This old-school term refers to a whopping 108 imperial gallons, or about 491 liters, of liquid bliss. Even today, some wineries and distilleries, like Macallan, still use this quirky term to describe their enormous casks. Next time someone says they have a buttload of something, you can wink and know they're talking about enough wine to fill a giant cask. Number 7. The rich used to live on the ground floors, not penthouses. When the Romans first built apartment homes, called insulae at about 9 to 10 stories high, it was the wealthier folks that lived on the ground floors. The higher floors rarely had running water, nor did they have bathrooms. Imagine climbing up and down 9 stories every day, multiple times a day. It wasn't until the elevator came around in the 1800s that penthouses and upper floor units became status symbols. Number 8. Did you know? Tomatoes contain nicotine. While we've all heard that fruits and vegetables are packed with nutrients, you probably weren't aware that tomatoes also contain nicotine. In fact, studies have shown that eating nicotine-rich things like tomatoes and peppers can actually help reduce your chances of getting Parkinson's disease. Number 9. Without empty space, the world's atoms could fit into a grain of salt. We are surrounded by empty space, not just between ourselves and the outside world, but between and even within our atoms. As the BBC explains, that means even the most solid-looking objects we see are predominantly nothingness. Put another way, if you were to remove all the empty space in the atoms that make up a human being, he or she would be a lot smaller than a grain of salt. Number 10. Chewing gum takes as long to digest as anything else. You probably know that swallowing gum doesn't take the 7 years to digest that moms still tell their kids to keep them from choking. But it's hard not to pause when about to swallow gum and assume it must sit in your system for at least a little while longer than breakfast or lunch. In fact, it's digested just as quickly as anything else. Number 11. Frozen lobsters can come back to life. If you love a good lobster roll, watch out. You may be a fan of zombie flesh without even realizing it. Frozen lobsters have also been known to spring back to life after an overnight freeze. The Connecticut-based company TrueFresh stumbled upon the phenomenon after freezing its live lobsters in a -40-degree chemical. Once the creatures thawed out, it was undeniable. They were still alive. Number 12. Chameleons change color based on mood, not surroundings. You've likely heard since you were young that chameleons change their color to match their environment. That when they're on a slate, their skin takes on a gray tinge, or when they're on a leaf, they turn green. In fact, these color-based changes are related to their mood, temperature, or other factors entirely unrelated to their surroundings. Number 13. When a male lion takes over a tribe, he kills all the cubs. We may imagine lions as noble creatures, but they can be plenty brutal too. As Live Science explains, when male lions take over a new territory, they almost always kill the pride's cubs, since they are not biologically related and do not want to spend energy ensuring that other lions' genes will be passed on. Guess they aren't interested in being stepfathers. Number 14. Ravens can learn to speak better than parrots. Parrots have the reputation as the most talkative birds in the animal kingdom, but ravens could hold their own in a debate any day. In captivity, the animals can be trained to mimic human speech, saying basic words like hello and hi, and even coughing like a person. Number 15. Imagine causing an entire city to drain 8 million gallons of water, all because of one ill-timed joke. In 2011, a 21-year-old man in Portland, Oregon, decided to turn the city's reservoir into his personal restroom. What he thought was a harmless prank turned into an expensive mistake when officials decided to flush the entire reservoir. Though the water was treated and perfectly safe, the mere thought of it left Portlanders uneasy, leading to the costly disposal. So, next time you think about pulling a prank, remember, some jokes really can go down the drain. Literally. Number 16. When eagles flirt, they also flirt with death. Courtship between eagles can be rather death-defying. As New York's Department of Environmental Conservation puts it, the pair soars high in the sky, begins a dive, and interlocks talons while descending in a series of somersaults. But it usually all works out, with the two producing 1 or 2 offspring each year. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button so you make sure to never miss our videos. And check out our merch store for designs of your favorite fun facts. Number 17. Some rocks are natural solar panels and can convert light into electricity. Solar panels are becoming an increasingly popular way to harness energy. And it turns out, they also exist in nature too. In 2019, Peking University's Anhui Lu discovered electric currents on the surface of certain desert rocks that have thin coatings of iron and manganese. According to IFL Science, the weaker the light, the less current, demonstrating the coatings are turning the photons into moving electrons. The coatings are also quite stable, so generation probably lasts all day. Number 18. Interpol was founded in 1914 when legal professionals from 24 countries got together to discuss catching fugitives. These days, Interpol, or the International Criminal Police Organization, may be well known for tracking down outlaws around the world. But the group dates all the way back to 1914 when the International Criminal Police Congress was held in Monaco. That meeting saw police and judicial representatives from 24 countries get together to improve contacts between police forces in different countries to increase the effectiveness of international investigations. Number 19. 14 people with 7 keys control one key aspect of the internet. The key ceremony is a meeting of some powerful people who have a staggering amount of control over the internet. As reported by The Guardian, These 7 keyholders are hand-picked security experts who meet quarterly and whose individual digital keys create a master key, which in turn controls one of the central security measures at the core of the web. The experts have exclusive access to the domain name system, DNS, which is basically the directory of everything online, as part of a new global effort to make the whole domain name system secure and the internet safer. Every time they meet, they flush out fake and dangerous web addresses. Number 20. Bedbugs have existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Bedbugs are almost impossible to get rid of and can spread faster than water cooler gossip. But that might also be why they've managed to stick around for so long. Scientists believe that the bugs have existed since the time of the dinosaurs, coming onto the scene about 115 million years ago, according to a 2019 study in Current Biology. To think that the pests that live in our beds today evolved more than 100 million years ago and were walking the earth side by side with dinosaurs was a revelation, said researcher Mike Siva-Jyothi. It shows that the evolutionary history of bedbugs is far more complex than we previously thought. Number 21. Nintendo has existed for over 130 years. When you think of Nintendo, you probably think of the video game consoles that you or your kids grew up with. Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Wii, and most recently, the Nintendo Switch. But the gaming company didn't just spring up in the 80s. In fact, Nintendo was founded in 1889. Of course, the company that Fusajiro Yamauchi started over 130 years ago doesn't bear much of a resemblance to the Nintendo we know and love today. The original Nintendo sold playing cards and went through several major changes over the decades. It wasn't until the 1970s that the company started branching out into video games. Number 22. Did you know? The Pledge of Allegiance was written as a PR stunt to sell magazines. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. How many times did you stand and recite those words when you were growing up? While the Pledge of Allegiance might feel like something that's been around forever, it was actually written in 1892 by Francis Bellamy as part of a contest designed to promote sales of the weekly children's magazine, Youth's Companion. And while the pledge today is quite similar to Bellamy's original version, it has undergone some significant changes over the years. Notably, the phrase "under God" wasn't added until 1954. Number 23. Wild pigs cost the US an estimated $1.5 billion each year. While you might not spot a lot of wild pigs roaming around your particular neighborhood, they still cause quite a problem. According to the Public Library of Science, Gail Kieran, a public affairs specialist at the National Wildlife Research Center, estimated that there are between 5 and 6 million invasive swine in at least 35 states. These problematic hogs cost the country well over $1 billion every year to control and deal with the damage they've done. Number 24. Humans might be able to hibernate like bears. We tend to think about hibernating as something that bears and other animals do to make it through the winter months, but humans may also have a similar ability to put ourselves into the deep sleep. In fact, when a teenage stowaway survived a flight from California to Hawaii while hidden in the wheel well of an airplane in 2014, it's believed that he may have entered a state of hibernation due to the freezing temperatures and low oxygen levels in the wheel. While that sort of travel should obviously be avoided, there may be another way that hibernating might allow us to endure lengthy trips. Scientific American explains that figuring out ways to induce humans into a hibernation-like state might make it possible to launch humans into far-flung galaxies, as glorified in popular sci-fi movies like Alien and Prometheus. Number 25. Some silly constitutional amendments never happened. A U.S. constitutional amendment was proposed in 1893 suggesting that the country be renamed the United States of Earth. There was another failed amendment a few years prior that wanted to abolish the presidency and install a Roman-style triumvirate, as if the United States needed any more comparisons to the doomed Roman Empire. Number 26. The bigger your brain, the longer you yawn. Andrew Gallup, a psychologist and professor at the State University of New York, compiled a list of animals, elephants, cats, gorillas, sheep, camels, and walruses, and told his students to go online and find as many videos of these creatures yawning as possible, according to a report by The Atlantic. The students gathered enough evidence to show that the size of an animal's brains, not to the overall size of the animal itself or the size of its mouth, seemed to be directly related to the length of its yawn. So basically, if an animal yawns for a long time, you can safely assume it has a heavy brain. Number 27. Champagne was once used as shoe polish. In the early 20th century, men of society eschewed traditional polish, using champagne to shine their shoes instead. In fact, Olga Berluti, a high-end shoe designer whose company is owned by the Louis Vuitton, still uses Dom Pérignon to polish her famed shoes. Number 28. Selfies kill more people than sharks. According to the International Shark Attack File, there have been just 439 fatal shark attacks worldwide since 1958. That's just 7.5 shark-related deaths per year. However, in India alone, 27 people perished from selfie-related accidents in 2015, according to the Washington Post. Number 29. Aviation English is the language all pilots must speak. No matter what nationality, they are pilots from all over the world, make trips to international destinations, which means it's incredibly important for both pilots and those coordinating air traffic to be able to clearly communicate and understand one another. That's why they use Aviation English, a 300-word language that senior aircrew are required to know no matter where they come from or what their native language is. Number 30. Imagine a future where doctors can print a new heart for you. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's already happening, and the results are incredible. In 2019, researchers from Tel Aviv University successfully 3D printed a human heart using a patient's own cells. Biological materials were reportedly used to completely match the immunological, cellular, biochemical, and anatomical properties of the patient, the lead researcher said in a statement. People have managed to 3D print the structure of a heart in the past, but not with cells or with blood vessels. Our results demonstrate the potential of our approach for engineering personalized tissue and organ replacement in the future. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our merch store for your favorite fun fact design.